I'm so excited to be here just in general because everybody's here in person and not on Zoom because I'm so sick of Zoom. So I'm just excited that people are out and about and we're all able to be here together tonight. I'm blessed to be part of the DisruptHR committee. And Andy actually used to be my boss back in the day, so her and I have a double connection, so thank you for the intro. And a little bit of the personal and professional development that I'm sure we're going to get into with the panel. So with that, let's introduce the panel here. We have Krista, Annalise, and Yvonne. So I'm so excited. I know you guys are all here for them. So Krista is from People's Bank. She's been there for 2 years. I asked before, we were all kind of just talking and getting to know each other a little bit before today. And so I was saying, what's your favorite part of working in HR? How long have you been in HR? So Krista's been at People's for 2 years now. And her favorite part is just the everyday stuff. Every day is a different day. As we all know in HR, there is never a dull moment. Something is always going on. It's always a variety, so we're never bored, that's for sure. And people never cease to amaze her, whether she means that in the negative or the positive sense. It could be both. It totally depends on the day. Also, something that I learned about Krista, which I thought was very interesting, and I hope you do too, is that she got married in Vegas. And Elvis was with her, and there was a car, and was it the license plate, or it just said it?
He said his car's name was Priscilla Bitch.
Priscilla Bitch. So that's Krista. You have a little more knowing about Krista now. Annalise is here from Masonicare, so Annalise, thank you for joining us. She's been there for 4 years now. In talking to Annalise, she is definitely a problem solver. She loves to solve problems for people, but she also just loves the people part of HR, which I hope that everybody in this room in HR loves the people. That's why we do what we do, although it's very challenging. She loves working with the people and, of course, the different variety that can come up in HR, as we all know. And the crazy thing about Annalise and Krista that we learned that we probably would not have learned if we were virtual, let me just say, because it kind of was like a water cooler conversation, was that Annalise also was married in Vegas. It was her 7th wedding anniversary, renewing her vows. She did a drive-through wedding in Vegas. Was Elvis there for you too?
Yes.
Yes, he was.
Did you have the skinny one or the fat one?
I had the fat one.
I had the skinny one. I'm going back for the fat one.
All right, so they each had a different Elvis.
This is like inclusion and belonging happening in real time, right?
All right, so they belong together. Now we have Yvonne as our last panelist here. So Yvonne has been running her own DEI&B firm for the last 2 years. And it's called Indelible Impressions. She specializes obviously in DEI&B and culture engagement. She loves to connect with people in a very authentic and intimate way. And I think you'll see as we discuss through the panel, you'll get that feeling through Yvonne. She also is really into shaving her head when she left the corporate world. And I thought that was pretty badass of her, so I appreciate the disruption as she decided to take her own path and start her own journey and leave corporate America, which I'm sure a lot of us wish we could do every day. So with that being said, let's kick it off. So I was listening to my fellow DisruptHR committee members just kind of close out the speakers who were awesome, by the way. Thank you guys so much. I learned a lot. I was taking a lot of notes. And a lot of it was just ending in how change happens. And in HR, we all know that, but these last 2.5 years, we have struggled. And especially us from the DisruptHR front, we haven't had an event since 2019. And that is not for lack of trying. We did try, and every time we tried, they were like, oh, just kidding, COVID's out there again. And we're like, oh shit, all right, we'll wait till next time. And then we'd wait 6 months and start doing stuff again. They'd be like, oh, hi, COVID's here again. So I wanted to point this first question to Annalise, because as we talk about change just being inevitable and how it's obviously, I think most people find change difficult. A lot of people can embrace change and it's a positive thing, but it is a difficult concept, and especially for employees, So I'm wondering from Annalise if you can tell us, what have you done in times of change that can bring a group together and keep them engaged?
Yeah, so we have utilized a lot of different technology tools that we have for some of our hybrid workforce to remain connected, little touch bases in the morning to kind of deal with that engagement. When people are coming into the office, making some time to connect with them. As every single day is a little bit different in HR, and making sure that we, have those touch points with them, so that we know what's kind of going on with the staff that we have. I'm not sure, from the DEI perspective, what you've kind of faced, as what providing to clients.
Yeah, I mean, we often talk about that is going beyond the transactional nature of the role, right? So historically, it's always been where people come in, they do their job, they leave, right? Rinse and repeat, you get a paycheck. But what employers are looking for more now, as you pointed out, is that employee engagement. Something that is very authentic, that connects with them on a personal level beyond just what they offer to the organization. And I think that that's a really critical piece, creating opportunities to have a more intimate dialogue and really be focused on them so that they can bring their most authentic selves to the workplace.
And I love that, and you can definitely jump in, Krista, but I just wanted to reference Megan in her speech, just talking about connection and how connection is so powerful and how that matters and how that helps employees thrive. And that's that conduit to what employee engagement really is. It's all based around that connection and the positive human experiences that we have with our coworkers as well as our boss, which I think is a big piece of it. Krista?
And I think it comes down a lot to meeting people where they are. Mm-hmm. The traditional structure was, I'm an employer and I'm going to offer you this great job and this great opportunity and these benefits, and you're going to be so happy that you might take a lower salary, or you might drive further, or you might do all of these things just for the glory of getting to say that you work there. And when we think about that and we segue that into issues people have, how they compete in the marketplace right now, and how do you differentiate yourself, it's all about that authentic experience. Because it's almost like the real estate market, right? Like you got to overpay, waive the inspection. People are doing everything. That's not a sustainable way to attract or retain staff. So what you really have to start to think about is, how do you differentiate yourself and how do you become that employer of choice? Because if my partner has a great medical, dental, and vision plan, well then that $25,000 you were going to spend on me is lost, right? So what we've started to see and look at is people want to come, right? So when you go to change your job, it's not always about money. There's that sentence before that goes, gee, I don't really like my boss, and I only get paid this much. Or I don't really like the culture, and I only get paid this much. It's not about the money. And so what we have seen in our organization is we've started offering programs on how to help you pay off your debt. We have a financial advisor, student loan opportunities, and maybe deferring some of your 401k match. We have benefits that help you find childcare. We have benefits that offer like mental health services or apps to your family. I think we all have to start to think about, what do individual people need? Meet them where they are. And you're spending all of this money, but it's got to be a two-way street, because it's a very different relationship that we're facing. I mean, I would say to you all, take a look at your employee handbook, because everyone's got a policy. Because when you write it, do you have this policy? Do you have that policy? Why do you have that policy? We just looked at our dress code, and you know what? Why do I have to? There was a big deal about jeans, and people were like, well, if you wear jeans, they can't be ripped. Well, your pants can't be ripped. So what are you trying to accomplish? And so what I think is really important when we talk about disrupting is when you look at a job or you look at a policy, why are you doing it? And if you can do it a different way, right? Nobody's job description says you must be at 555 49th Street and you must work from 9 to 5 to get the job done. No, it says what you have to do. So if a job can get done in jeans and you can be in Oklahoma, then why not? Because otherwise you're going to be like those people in real estate, right? Overpaying, getting outbid, and buying a home without an inspection.
And that's going to impact your mental health.
Right.
Exactly.
Which I love that Dr. Michael, I'm going to call you Dr. Michael, if that's okay. I don't know where you are, but Dr. Michael, thank you. You talked about mental health, and I think that it was actually like very scary to me that you said that only half of the employees understand their health benefits, or they say that they understand. That doesn't even mean they fully understand. Right. And I just think of my friends, my peers, and when they're like, oh, my insurance covers that. And I'm like, do you even know what your insurance is? Do you even know what the difference between self-funded or fully funded? I mean, and maybe that doesn't matter, but it's like, oh, why am I paying this bill? I'll just pay this bill. And maybe you don't actually owe that whole balance. It's scary how much people can spend, and it's fraudulent, you know? And I think that when we talk about health benefits, to your point, Krista, it's not all about the paycheck. It's not all about the money that we're receiving in our paycheck, but it's also about the value and the additional benefits that we get, whether that's culture, whether that is additional benefits like flexibility or wearing jeans, being remote, whatever the case may be. And I think I want to ask Annalise, because I know that one of her areas of focus is around total rewards. When we think about, especially in this world that we're in now, just the rising costs of medical and drug, what can we do and how can we stay competitive in offering a competitive benefits package?
Sure. So we really took a look at our overall benefit package to see what we could take on as employer and not pass on to the employee, so it wouldn't be a financial burden to them. We also had to take a look at the mental health benefits that we're offering coming out of COVID, and people, you know, that return to work, what does that look like? And with technology, looking at apps, we too were looking at PTO. Well, we do a PTO cash-in, so people that can't take their time can cash it in and pay it back to their student loans. Nice. We also are offering people money for them in classes. The parents, if they have children in classes as well, to pay back their student loan. You have to think holistically about benefits in order to keep, retain, and attract new talent nowadays. It's not just one thing anymore. And you know, with the cost of increasing of health insurance and drugs, we really tried to see what we could kind of take on, what we wouldn't want to pass, and how to diversify our benefit package so that we could remain competitive. And that's really looking at everything across the whole gambit anymore. Nothing is off limits, and you have to be really aggressive to, you know, make sure that it's really a great package and make sure that we're keeping the same talent and attracting new talent.
And understanding that there's no such thing as a blanket approach. So really knowing as a leader your employees and what their specific needs are and hearing their feedback. And I think that kind of plays into Yvonne's world for sure, about just embracing and encouraging authenticity and really putting the value on the individual employee. What do they want? What do they need? How can we make this a relationship? Because when you really think about it, your work is a relationship between you and your place of work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead, Yvonne.
No, you're absolutely correct. Employees are looking for more now, right? We know that COVID created what I'd like to refer to as collateral beauty in a way, right? People got an opportunity to spend more time with themselves, figure out who they are, what they want for themselves, what's important to them. Do I want to sit there in the car to take an hour-long commute to then go work for a toxic leader, be absolutely miserable, and I'm not even getting the bonus this year, right? So I think this is where culture comes into play. This is where authenticity is in the driver's seat right now. Gone are the times when employees say, it's okay for me to assimilate or to code switch, to leave parts of myself outside of the building, outside of the team dynamic, and that's okay. I'm here to play a role. People don't want to do that anymore. They want to be embraced for who they are and all the beauty of the dimensions of diversity that they hold, whether that's racially, whether that's gender-wise, socioeconomically, LGBTQIA+, disabilities, capabilities. It goes across the spectrum. And I think the more that employers can allow for that in a really meaningful, honest way, that's exactly what's going to attract the talent. That's what's going to keep the talent engaged, satisfied, and retained. Because otherwise, what you're going to see is that typical churn, right? Where you get somebody, you onboard them. Onboarding is expensive as hell. And then next thing you know, 6 months in, 9 months in, well, if the culture isn't allowing for a person to be authentic, to tap into their most creative parts, their most effective parts of their brains, of their minds, of their personalities in the workplace, they're out of there. And then guess what? You're right back to square one again. So when we think about authenticity, it's not just about, I want to show up in pajamas and slippers to do my job.
But I do.
And that's okay, right? It doesn't take away from how effective I am as an employee, right? And I know, for example, a typical factor that I have found as a Black woman in the workplace, when we start to talk about hair, right? We start to talk about what's professional, right? What's executive presence. All of that. It's very important to be able to be who you are in the workplace and know that that is not necessarily how you look, how you appear, is not necessarily tied to your capabilities, to your intellectual capital that you provide to that organization. So the more that we can provide opportunity and platforms for people to be themselves, shave the side of your hair if you want to, whatever that is, heck yeah, right? That is so critical to me being able to go into a workplace and be as creative as possible, to be as innovative as possible. And when we think about that, think about how beneficial that is, not just from the employee engagement standpoint, but the business benefits, right? The more creative I am, the more innovative I'm going to be. And the more innovative I'm going to be, the more availability there is to tap into new markets and expand the organization's bottom line. Mm-hmm. So we have to be thinking about this, not just from the standpoint of the employee and the benefits to them alone, but there is inherent business benefits to the bottom line by investing in culture, and authenticity is a key driver.
And I would just want to add to that. You know, I think when you hear it, and I look out in the room, right, I'm going to say what everyone is thinking. Well, that's really good, but you know what? My company, we can't do it. I work at a bank, and we're in retail, and I don't think I can do that. So that sounds really good, but whatever it is. But you can. And there's different ways that you can do that, and you can move that needle. And your company doesn't have to be Google. You can be a bank. You can be, we're in a retail environment, so not everybody can be flexible. But what I think it comes down to, and it's important what you brought up about the business piece, because I think that before, we as managers managed by our own perception, right? Well, when I started, they told me I better wait until the boss leaves, or I gotta be the first person in, right? And we transfer some of that to other people. Yep. And we think we have to supervise people because we have to put eyes on them. But what we all really need to do is come up with managing by objectives, right? So if everyone has a goal and everyone has a plan and everybody has something that they have to do, you can manage that in any environment. If you're in an environment where you are in retail and you can't offer flexibility, the biggest thing I've seen in my chair sitting on both sides is someone comes and says, well, the shift is 8:30 to 4:30 and I have to put my daughter on the bus at 9 o'clock. So I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to resign. Or I have people come and say, I had to resign because I needed 15 minutes. You can't be creative with your schedules. You know, there's little things I think that we as managers need to examine what we're bringing and what our history was, and in this intergenerational world, right? Because also sometimes when you hear this, I'll say it, I'm married to a boomer, right? And he's like, oh, I don't know how to manage feelings. Like, no, the feelings, right?
Is that how we talk?
Like, you know, and then I'm like, it's not about the feelings. You don't take the feelings out. You don't have to worry about it. But if I know that you value me and you say to me, Krista, if you want to work from Oklahoma this week, it's not about judging whether you think I can do it or not. What I always try to say is, okay, well, what do you have going on this week if you're going to be remote? Do you think you can get it done? I think it's about respect, and it's about thinking outside of the box. And back to your point, it's a relationship. And in any relationship, it goes back and forth, and you get to know one another, and you give to get.
So, Krista, you hit the nail on the head. Because that's exactly the whole point, and how so many speakers brought this together tonight is connection, trust, respect, but most importantly, open communication and two-way feedback with your leader. Because if you can't talk to your direct leader about your wants, your hopes, your dreams, your ambitions, and be your authentic self, and also on the flip side, have that leader be vulnerable to you so that you can feel that personal connection, none of this is going to move anywhere. So I think that's the most important thing. Yvonne.
Yeah, I love what you brought out about the vulnerability. So when I am coaching executives, that's one of the things that myself and my team talk to them about most, right? There used to be this archaic structure and dynamic of leaders shouldn't show their emotions, they shouldn't show their feelings, they shouldn't talk about what their own personal challenges are. If you want to create authentic relationship, it's a two-way street. It's not the employee coming in and spilling their guts to you. It's you being really honest about the challenges of workplace environment, mental health, family dynamics, etc. When you build that bridge of trust and there's equal vulnerability, that's the kind of leadership that today's employees are looking for. Those are the leaders that employees will follow into the fire. Those are the relationships between a leader and an employee where the employee might say, well, you know what, I guess if, the company didn't do that well this year and they're not doing bonuses or nobody's getting a raise or a promotion, they're going to stick it through. You're going to get that loyalty, but that loyalty is always based on relationship. So start thinking about that as leaders. Sharing more, connecting more, that's what people want today. That's what they're looking for. You want to be an employer choice? Put down the old mantles and pick up the new way of engaging.
So Annalise, we're going to wrap with your last thought, and then, because we could probably talk all night, but the panelists will be around for this last half hour as we network and socialize. So I want Annalise to wrap us up. However, I'll make one more announcement after she's done, so don't move. Okay. Annalise.
So I was just going to say, to your point, what I have found to be successful is being vulnerable with the staff to let them know these are the challenges and this is how we're going to, overcome them, and this is how we can do it together. And now you have to think about how to be flexible, and maybe it's work from home, maybe it's letting them drop their kids off at school or whatever the case might be. But it's not just being vulnerable, but also allowing the flexibility, finding what their goals are, even if they are in a certain role, using them in a certain way that is better for the organization. That maybe somebody is in a certain role, but down the line you're seeing something else for them that would better the organization or better your structure, and trying to hone into all of those things. So I think that's really our responsibility as managers and HR to help people to see what they should see in their staff or what they could see in other members of the team that would better the organization.
So if we quickly go down the line, if you can wrap up in one sentence what you would want somebody from this group to walk away with today, what would it be? Yvonne.
I would say that culture fit is dead, culture add is everything. It's a distinct difference between the two. One is about homogeneity and having a culture of all the same, which does not make you competitive in today's marketplace. You need to be thinking about how people add to your bench in really dynamic, innovative ways.
Annalise?
So from my perspective, taking a look at your total rewards, now it's not just your medical, dental, and vision. It is mental health, well-being, financial wellness and stability. It's flexibility. It is, work from home and how to create a safe work environment for people that are, very different. So that's what I would say for me.
Good job. And Krista.
I would say meet people where they are. Take a good hard look when you're a manager, what you're managing to objectives and what you're managing to your history, and be creative, and you'll meet a lot of people and you'll attract a lot of people that way.
All right, you guys, thank you so much to the panel. I appreciated getting to know you guys. And like I said, we're going to stick around, and please enjoy the bar, the apps for the next 30 minutes or so.